year across our households, from water heaters and furnaces to EVs to rooftop solar and storage, the number is actually potentially much, much higher. We think it is actually closer to $860 billion than it is to $100 billion. But that is only true if we make it so. And so our goal over the next decade needs to be to change the market default so that the efficient electric machine, from rooftop solar panels to water heaters, is the most affordable, convenient, and accessible one to purchase and install. And that is really where you all come in, because you are the folks who help to make that transition a reality. Together, we can create new household infrastructure and opportunity. And it is amazing what that potential looks like, because electricity will, as we do this, quadruple. We will quadruple our demand for electricity in the US economy. But because electric machines are so much more efficient than fossil fuel machines, we will actually cut the amount of energy we use as an economy in half. We will stay the number one GDP. In fact, our GDP will grow. We will stay the number one economy in the world. In fact, our distance between us and the next nearest competitors will grow. But we will be using half of the energy to do that, which means that American households will be pocketing that difference. And that is the potential that is inherent in the work that you all do each and every day. When the president signed the Inflation Reduction Act into law, we at rewiringamerica.org put out a calculator to help people understand what the potential was and what credits and rebates they would be eligible for. We did no promotion of this. We paid no dollars in marketing. And we have had 300,000 people now use this calculator over the last couple of months. And spending an average of 9 minutes on the tool to find out what's available to them. It turns out people actually want to know what kind of money they can access and what kind of money they can save. And as a test, it was very important to us to understand that. And so we have a thesis, which is that we need to aggregate local demand in order to catalyze the market transformation. We need to start thinking locally about getting more and more people in the households raising their hands and saying that what they want to do is have an electric plan for themselves. Whoa, okay. So the idea here is to sell the policy by equipping households to make their own electric plan. As you all know, when you talk to households and customers, their conditions, their situation is, each of them is different from the next. Someone might be motivated to buy solar panels because they are climate concerned. Someone else might be really focused on the savings they can get. Someone might be doing that because they're about to get an EV or they just got an EV, or maybe they're thinking about a whole home electrification, or maybe because they got solar that is now available to them to start thinking about those things. It is time for us to start pulling together these decisions into a unified plan of action that households can benefit from. And if you want an example, which is an eye chart of how powerful it is to electrify, here is an example. This is the Pittsburgh metro market. And I'm not expecting you to be able to read everything on this slide because it's a bunch of information crammed in. But I can call out the things to pay attention to. Each of these graphs is a comparison of the incumbent machines that are used for heating a home versus an efficient electric heat pump. On the left is electric resistance, in the middle is fuel oil, on the right is natural gas. Each of these graphs is January to December, the month-over-month cost of energy tied to the heating profile of a home in the Pittsburgh metro market. This does not include solar. It doesn't include EVs. And you can see at the bottom the amount of savings a household in Pittsburgh would get from installing a heat pump as compared to what they have in their home today. This is a huge deal. 49% of Americans in the United States do not have $400 of emergency savings. The idea of being able to present $3,000 in annual savings to someone before you even talk about rooftop solar, or before you even talk about driving a car for $1.06 a gallon equivalent when you have an EV, is an enormous deal. And it is incredibly important that we start to think about this in our approach to electrifying every household in America. And the last thing I'll say about this slide before moving on and concluding is that really a big part of the impediment over the last years has been the upfront cost of the machines, which is why the Inflation Reduction Act is so important, and then the gap in knowledge. I have yet to meet somebody who says that they are so excited about the new model of the water heater coming out next year because they're totally going to upgrade. And I would guess that most of us, even all of you, do not know the brand of the furnace or water heater that we have in our homes. These are things that customers do not think about until the time comes where they have to think about it quite a lot. And it's an opportunity for us to lay the groundwork for them to electrify everything by helping them understand the holistic picture, not just the next appliance that they're looking at. So I'm going to close with this sort of idea, which is just what can happen if we start to aggregate demand in local communities. This is designed to be notional. It's not sort of an actual price of a system, although it is not that far off from what it would cost to cleanly electrify a household. But if you assume that we do something together when it comes to aggregating demand in local markets, we can pull down the cost of customer acquisition because you create a more educated cohort of people. What we are starting to see is that local communities are interested in stacking rebates and incentives on top of the IRA because what they want to do is propel their market forward. And we're starting to see opportunities to stack public-private partnership with local corporations who want to themselves help their employees or their communities move forward. As you aggregate demand, it starts to become more interesting for OEMs to participate in further writing down the cost, and then you have the IRA benefits. What we believe is going to happen now is we are going to have a coherence of these kinds of incentives that ultimately write down the front end cost of electrification for a household, making the cost of financing all that more attractive, but ultimately making the operating cost benefits of going electric versus the incumbent machines all that much more compelling. So that is our view from Rewiring America and what we are working on and sort of our perspective. As Chris mentioned, we were very involved in the shaping of the Inflation Reduction Act elements tied to electrifying our homes. And we're honored to have the opportunity to work together with all of you in this next phase of educating Americans about their electric bank accounts and connecting them to them. We're trying to build a movement, and we hope you join us. That gentleman is an MIT PhD who also goes by the name of Mr. Heat Pump. And you could hang out with him. So thank you all very much. Thank you to Aurora for the incredible work that you do, and really just honored to have the opportunity to be here today. Thank you.